Things just took a shocking turn in regards to the New York Knicks head coaching search, as there has been a lot of discussion surrounding the Knicks, surrounding what they are going to do with one of the biggest storylines surrounding this NBA offseason, being the New York Knicks going to multiple different outlets in order to find the perfect head coach for their team and getting the guy who they want, and we're going to break all that down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. Guys, if you are part of that 75% that's not subscribed to Knicks Digest, make sure to subscribe for daily New York Knicks videos like this and much more. We're dropping videos every single day. Throughout the offseason, you're going to see multiple videos every day as well, so you do not want to miss out on all the great content that we have. But let's jump into the video. There's a lot to go over. As the New York Knicks front office, they are being very, very diligent in regards to this head coaching search. It's something we know. Now, Johnny Bryant, the former assistant coach of the Knicks, associate head coach next to Tom Thibodeau, has been the favorite to become the New York Knicks' next head coach. However, discussions went way farther than just Johnny Bryant in regards to that head coaching spot. The Knicks are going to interview a ton of people like they did in 2020 when they evidently hired Thibodeau, and there's been a lot of names that have come up. Now, some of the most common names have included Jason Kidd as of recently, and also Ime Udoka. But it's gone much farther than that as well. We've seen a bunch of other names come up, and one of them is Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, and Mikal Bridges' former coach at Villanova, Jay Wright. Now, there's been a bunch of updates surrounding the New York Knicks and seeing just what is going to happen with this team moving forwards and who they are evidently going to hire as the head coach. But we have multiple updates on all of these guys and more, and just diving into them, what it says is that according to Ian Begley, with regard to reports and suggestions of Jay Wright as a Knick coaching candidate, yes, Leon Rose and Wright have a close relationship and speak regularly. Because of that, Rose knows that Wright is very happy as a retiree, per a league source, so Wright is not a candidate for the job. Now, when Thibodeau first got fired, there was a lot of noise surrounding this. I had heard that based off everything right then, Jay Wright was going to be one of the favorites for the role as long as he wanted it. It became very clear that if Jay Wright wanted the role, it was his to lose to a certain degree. Johnny Bryant was always going to be ahead of him, but Wright did have that discussion with Tom Thibodeau, with Leon Rose, and obviously it has led to Jay Wright not being the New York Knicks head coach next season. So Wright is out, and that leaves just a whole bunch of other candidates as well. So there's going to be so many names flown around, but Jay Wright, that one, it looks as if you could finally put that to bed. Now, on top of that, with more of these updates, what we've seen is Ime Udoka, Chris Finch, and Jason Kidd are among the coaches currently under contract who the Knicks have degrees of interest in. Reports SNY insider Ian Begley, per permission from the Mavericks the Knicks will request permission from the Mavericks in order to interview Jason Kidd. Full disclosure, I posted a video yesterday, but I did not record one, and when I don't record a video, I forget how to read or something, so sorry about that. But look, with all of this in mind, obviously we have heard the Jason Kidd stuff for a bit now. That's been going on for days. We know that Jason Kidd is going to be one of the top options for this New York Knicks head coaching search. We know the Knicks like him. We know the Knicks liked him in 2020 as well. So this is not something we should be surprised to see. Honestly, the biggest surprise in regards to names is Chris Finch. Now, we know the Knicks like Chris Finch, and they've liked him for a bit, but it's just kind of surprising because it really does show the New York Knicks are going to exhaust every single possible option. Now, the Knicks have dealt with the Timberwolves recently as they made the trade, sending Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo for Karl-Anthony Towns. We've seen the Knicks and the Timberwolves do business before. Now, because these guys are under contract, what we're going to have to see is some degree of compensation get sent over. And look, we've seen that be highlighted already. We've seen a bunch of this go over. And Bleacher Report mentioned that Finch signed a contract extension with the Timberwolves last offseason and is under contract through the 2027-28 season. If the Knicks were to hire Finch, they would need to work out some form of compensation with Minnesota. Now, we know that a draft pick, a first-round pick, in fact, was sent to the Boston Celtics when the Clippers, I should say, poached Doc Rivers from the team. Obviously, that was a huge moment. Doc Rivers was one of the most well-regarded coaches in basketball. The Celtics were looking down the barrel of a rebuild, and Doc Rivers, after saying that he was going to stick around and see the rebuild through, he ended up going and coaching Lob City. Obviously, that did not work out for him, but at the same time, they were a successful team and one of the staples of the early 2010s when that was just such a fun era of basketball, especially people my age grew up on that stuff. And that's the last time we've seen a big swap of a coach where there's going to be some sort of trade effectively. And it makes you consider if the New York Knicks are going to be willing to give up draft capital, considering they only have so much to give up. It's not like the Knicks are full of this draft capital right now. They're very limited with what they have, and they're more focused on trading for players than trading for coaches. So they have to really, really love these coaches. They have to really believe that Chris Finch is the perfect guy. And full disclosure, I'm not the biggest fan of Chris Finch coaching the Knicks. I think Chris Finch is an excellent coach, but I don't think he should coach the Knicks. He's a defensive-first head coach. The Knicks need an offensive-first head coach with the way that this roster is constructed. Yeah, they have individually great defensive players. I'm not saying they don't, but they very clearly are going to need to have a coach that's going to coach offense with your two best players being Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. You need that more than you need a defensive coach. It's one of the reasons why the New York Knicks moved on from Tom Thibodeau. So then you look at a guy like Ime Udoka who fits that bill, but he does become tough. Now, you look at Finch, and he has been coaching in the NBA since 2011. Man was an assistant coach for a while. Got to New Orleans. He was with Denver for a year, with Toronto for a year, ended up getting signed by Minnesota. Every full season he's coached the Minnesota Timberwolves. They've made the playoffs. And look, he's got a good record. A 566 win percentage is very good. So the man has been a good coach, no doubt about it. He's led the Timberwolves to the conference finals in back-to-back seasons. It's very hard to believe that Minnesota is going to look at Chris Finch, a guy who, when he was brought in, had one of the best defenses in NBA history. Statistically, the best defense in NBA history just a season ago. And Karl-Anthony Towns is on that team. And I think that's the argument you make for, all right, well, he knows how to do that. We should bring him into the Knicks. But again, I don't think the Timberwolves would let that go. So it does become a situation that you start to see there really isn't a clear answer out of. And then you look at Ime Udoka, and all indications are that Udoka, it's the same problem, because the New York Knicks, they would have to work out some sort of compensation to the Rockets, and the Rockets would rather just have Udoka, which means the Rockets are just going to keep Udoka. Now, he's been a head coach for 3 years in the NBA. Looked like he was going to be the longtime head coach of the Boston Celtics after that 1 year where they won the Eastern Conference Finals and they ended up losing in the NBA Finals to the Golden State Warriors. It felt like there was just the future laid out. Obviously, that cheating scandal happened. He gets fired. He ends up in Houston a year later, and he's coached Houston very well for 2 straight years now, where he's gotten a lot of credit for the great work that he's done there, as he should. I mean, he just coached the Rockets to being a friggin' 7th seed. Yeah, they lost in 7, but they played the Warriors, a team that has been battle-tested time and time again. They still have Steph Curry, who on any given night can be the most dominant player in basketball. So it's absolutely one of those situations where you look at this and you can't really blame the whole, or claim that the whole year is a failure, because it's not. And the man has a 585 win percentage. Once he got to the Rockets, there was a clear turnaround. We saw Schengen break out under him. I would love Udoka, but it's really not going to happen because of reasons mentioned. Now, Jay Williams thinks that Udoka should leave for the New York Knicks, though, saying, I do think there's a coach out there who is currently coaching the Houston Rockets that would be the most amazing fit in New York City, and that's Ime Udoka, a guy that understands the Boston Celtics and how they built with Brad Stevens and Danny Ainge and what their personnel looks like. He, Ime, has a similar but updated culture in Houston with some young dogs, where he's built a pretty incredible foundation over a quick period. And Williams thinks he should leave it for New York, but Kalieko mentioned that regarding the points, identifying Udoka as a possible target for the vacant Knicks coaching position, Houston has no interest in entertaining that. So a team source told The Athletic that both parties are committed to the long-term project and are actively preparing for a busy offseason. So outside of finding out that not only will the New York Knicks front office, who's exhausting every option, they won't be able to get a chance with Jay Wright because he's retired. It now feels the same way with Ime Udoka, and it'd be pretty surprising if Chris Finch is also going to be available on that list. Now, again, I don't think Jay Wright would have been the answer on the New York Knicks. I mean, look, he's a very decorated basketball coach, specifically at Nova. And outside of that, just once he got to Nova, they had constant tournament appearances. They won 2 championships. Obviously, Brunson was there for those 2. And it's just this thought of, if it works, it would be such a cool story to tell. But that's not what we're doing here. We're not going for narratives. We're going for the right coach so the New York Knicks can win the NBA Finals. Putting a guy in Jay Wright there, who's never coached at the NBA level, who's never done this at this level, completely different game. On top of that, just kind of this storyline move of a guy who retired and is happily retired to drag him out and coach the Knicks. It feels like a disaster waiting to happen, and that's not a reflection on who Jay Wright is as a coach. He's a great coach. It just feels like it's one of those storylines that rarely ever actually works out when it's all said and done, which sort of leads to that situation where I'm pretty happy that it's not going to be Wright. I'm bummed it's not going to be Udoka, because I think he would be my number 1 choice if I could pick anybody out of all the names that we've seen listed. But the one guy that it comes down to is Jason Kidd. There's been differing reports on if Kidd and the Mavericks are even going to deal with this situation, in the sense of there's just such a world where the Mavericks shoot it down, go, nope, absolutely not. He coached us to the NBA Finals appearance. We're keeping him around. We like Jason Kidd. End of story. And the Knicks can't do anything about it. They'll get blocked. The end. Now, however, they can certainly get the opportunity to interview Jason Kidd, because Kidd has not always been super pleased with the Mavericks in regards specifically to trading Luka Doncic, and also he's probably not thrilled that they let Brunson walk as well. So because of that, maybe there's a world where Jalen Brunson can sort of sway Jason Kidd as well, and Jason Kidd can ask the Mavericks, can you just let me interview? It doesn't necessarily mean I'm leaving, but let me get that chance. Kidd and Nico Harrison are not best friends or anything. They haven't agreed on all these moves, so there does become a world that it could happen. I do think at the end of the day, the Mavericks will end up blocking Jason Kidd, and that's what all signs point to right now. But we're going to see how all that goes down. And guys, once it does, we will obviously be reporting on it right away. So make sure to be subscribed to Knicks Digest with those post notifications turned on. Like this video. Have a great day, guys. Go Knicks.